Hello, boys and girls. We're going to check past paper DSE 2013, paper 3 listening. We'll focus on task 10. All right, so if you look at your data file, page 4, it was an email from Casey Wong to Marty Poon. Read the following questions. Yeah, so this is what you have to do. That's the task. That's the task from your boss. And it asks you to write an editorial for the next issue. Editorial means it's like an article. It's like an article. So that means you need to have a good title. And it's also mentioned by your boss, a good title. Brief. Don't give me more than 3 sentences because that is not brief. 1 to 2 sentences summary of Kevin Ho's point of view. The positive effects on tourism on local people. So you need to respond to these 3 items. Here it said you may want to start by looking at the letter from Kevin Ho and find out his point of view, whether it's supportive or against tourism. Yeah. All right. When you read the instruction from your boss, you need to find out what the genre is. An editorial is not like letter to the editor. Editorial is an article, okay? A letter to the editor, you start with Dear Editor. All right, so it's normally an article in the newspaper or magazine. Formality. Is it formal? Well, not very, very serious, but it should not be informal. It should not be super friendly because they are discussing a topic. Yeah, about whether tourism is good or bad for local people. So it should be semi-formal to formal. Target audience will be anyone who reads the magazine, not Kevin Ho. It's not a letter. And when you started task 10, your boss asked you to summarize respond to these 3 things, right? So that's how you get the points. Okay, so first of all, you think of the title. A simple one will do. You do not have to spend a lot of time working on the title. Should be with maybe less than 7 words. It has to be simple and straightforward, to point, precise, like this one. Positive effects on tourism, because that's what you want to argue against Kevin's point of view, right? Kevin feels like it's negative effect more than positive effects on local people. So you want to argue against that. So the title is positive effects on tourism, or you could say tourism brings more good than harm. Yeah, it should not be ambiguous. It should be very clear of what your point of view is. All right, part 2, summary of Kevin Ho's point of view. Make sure you mention this person's full name. Okay, you read data file page 10. Here, it's what Kevin Ho said. The effects on tourism are increasingly negative. That's what he wants to say. And you want to summarize it in 1 or 2 sentences. Don't give me a whole paragraph. It's a waste of time. Especially when your boss already told you to use 1 or 2 sentences only. All right, so the point of view is you have to use adjectives, okay? Your point of view would be you think it's positive, tourism brings positive effect, you're supportive, you approve that tourism brings positive effect, you are optimistic that tourism brings positive effect, and you're hopeful. But Kevin Ho is the opposite. He's negative, he's disapproving that tourism is bringing positive effects, and he's pessimistic, So these adjectives are used to describe people's point of view. There's one more. Some people might not have a strong opinion for or against a certain topic, so they are neutral. The reason why I'm showing you these words is that in DSE, you might see these words in your reading MC question. All right, what is Kevin Ho's idea about tourism? We know that it's negative, and then he said that it brings negative influence, impact on local people. Learn how to write this phrase. It's impact on. This is the pair. Remember, it's followed by on, the preposition on, impact on. Okay, boys and girls, let's have a look at the sample here. Comment on it. It's a very long sentence stating the first sentence of the editorial. So you're supposed to tell me Kevin Hui is against tourism. He thinks that it has a negative effect on local. That is exactly what you should say. Short and precise. But have a look here. The student, the candidate, wrote, I can't agree more. I can't agree more means, it doesn't mean that you disagree. It means that you agree so much about Kevin Hui's point of view. But that's not what your boss asked you to do, right? Your boss asked you to disagree what Kevin Hui thinks. So this whole thing is wrong. And you can see that there is grammatical mistake. He also thinks, it should be thinks. And that's why this person will not get the content point. It's not making sense, grammatical mistake, and we don't know what Kevin Hui thinks. So no, this is not the right way to start your first point. And it's directly copying from the data file without thinking, and that's why he made such a silly mistake. If he followed the boss's instruction, he should know. He must start with Kevin Hui disagree that tourism helps cause positive effect on the local. So you can say it like that, or you can say Kevin Hui thinks that the tourism has negative effect on locals. How about this one? Make sure you jot down in your notes. You have the pile of notes. That's for you to see how to get level 5, okay, or more than that. Okay, we've got the second sample. Travel is angle. Of course, this is fatal mistake. We still have students mixing up angel and angle. Okay, Joe is like gel, G-E-L, and goal, it's G-L-E. So this is wrong. Travel is angle, no idea what this person is saying. Now are they? This is very wrong. It's just spelled with one word. Lots of people travel to other countries, but is it angle or evil? What does it mean? And because of these words, it affects us to understand what this person is saying. And that's why for language, this student will probably get 2, a fail out of 5, because we don't understand what they say, okay? I don't see this problem in your class, but we do have students who wrote so quickly and spell all the words wrongly because they wrote in a horrible way. Okay, so it's not a clear opening. We don't know what he thinks. Okay, this is not a double-sided argumentative writing. It should be commenting on Kevin Hui's point of view, and then work on top, build on top your point of view and expand it. So that's also a very wrong way to start. How about sample 3? A letter from Kevin Hui sends a letter to us, and he said that the Brazilian government discovered a lost tribe of people living deep inside the rainforest. Okay, this is already very wrong. It's so long. We should be able to see it in the first line, what Kevin Hui thinks, right? So here it said, however, we are against his position. It is good for local people. Okay, the only good thing is, at least this candidate mentioned that the candidate is against Kevin Hui's position. However, he did not say what Kevin Hui thinks. It's not clear. So what do you mean by you're against his position? It's not clear what his position is in this paragraph. So again, it's not right. It's not making sense. Copying the whole story, grammatical mistakes, not clear about Kevin Hui's point of view, and again, directly copying from data file without digesting the information. What about the next one? Remember to jot down the notes. You need to upload your work to Google Classroom. Remember to upload your work to Google Classroom. We're entering exam marks already, so please do that. All right, so again, it looks long to me. There are stakeholders, okay, spelling mistake, in the society insist on preposition missing, that development of tourism may harm benefit of locals, such as being treated like an attraction, and sometimes we need a word, sometimes something problem about different aspects will appear following the development of tourism. But I have to say, okay, are there only negative effects from tourism? Asking a question here is not good because we don't know what Kevin He thinks, and I don't know your stance. Are you saying this to make, I know you're asking this to make us think, but you should be clear. So again, not making sense, grammatical mistake, not clear about Kevin He's point of view, and I also don't think I know what your point of view is. Sample 5, again, a problematic one. I hope you didn't write it this way. All right, so first of all, it's not making sense because Kevin He couldn't agree the decision of Brazilian government. Hey, no, Kevin He, you're supposed to tell me what he thinks about the tourism to local people, not the government, not what he thinks about the government. So this is very wrong. Although we couldn't agree is negative, but you have to be careful. This is wrong. It's not making sense. There's grammatical problems, and we're not clear about Kevin He's point of view. I've written down fatal because this is completely off topic. It's not about tourism, what he thinks tourism can bring to the local. He's commenting on the government, so it's not right. Yeah, that's why it's wrong. And of course, we know that he copies everything from the data file. That's why it's wrong. He didn't digest it. He didn't carefully think and select the ones that mean something. And use his own words. He didn't. He just copied it. All right, we have sample 6. I'm writing to reply to your letter. This is wrong. This is not letter to the editor. Okay? And then from your letter, wrong. You point out the tourism effect. Okay, I know Kevin He wrote a letter, but this is an editorial. It's an article, not a letter. So again, fatal, 指明的. Okay, it's wrong because how can you spell decision wrongly? This is really wrong. Do not say you give a great sense of this issue. We should be objective. Don't be too subjective. Use pronouns like we to make it sound more objective. So comments, wrong genre, not a letter, grammatical mistakes, spelling, not clear about Kevin He's point of view. So we've got 6 samples that are wrong, and maybe one of you had written like this in your task 10. So please check. That's why it's wrong. Positive effects on tourism. Information from the data file and recording. Okay, so we look at the language mark. How do you get that? You need to show that you have language proficiency by using sentence structure, paraphrasing the sentences, maybe use some advanced connectives, vocabulary. What does it mean by manipulate from the data file? Means that you don't just directly copy the information, you process it. You pick only the ones that are right and then change the word order to make it sound like you are aware that you select this piece of information. You are aware that you want to show the marker the language ability that you have. Okay, what happens if you're directly copying from the data file? There is actually mark penalty, okay? But of course, not a lot. And that's why some of you ask me, hey, if I really don't have enough time, can I just copy everything to my task 10? My answer is yes and no. I would say no if you want to get level 4 or above. But again, I understand that if you don't have enough time, you might not have time to process the information and rephrase it or change the word order. So maybe it's okay for you to lose 1 point instead of losing 10 content points. So you need to make that decision. You need to time yourself well. So that's why if we practice enough, hopefully you will be faster in locating information. Try to do the following, okay? Change the word form, change the order of the words, that's what I said, and pronouns. we sequence the idea. So maybe in the data file, they have idea A and then idea B. So why don't you say idea B first and then use connective to link idea A together with B. Remember to use synonyms, words that are of similar meaning. But I think this is only for students who are very advanced in language. If you don't have a lot of vocabulary and you can't think of one, then you don't have to force yourself to think of a word that has the same meaning, okay? Because I'm worried that you'll get it wrong. But this tip, number 4, is for students who aim at getting level 5, okay? You probably have enough vocabulary to replace the vocabulary from the data file. Don't replace all of it. Sometimes it's risky because if you change the keyword, maybe you don't get the point. Use different sentence structures. That's the sentence structures we taught you since Form 1. And this was from the Marcus report, and that's why it's worth paying attention to. These are the tips, how you could get level 5 or above. Those of you who just want to get level 3, then just please try to remember 1, 2, 3. At least you need to do 1, 2, 3. Now you try. So here we have an excerpt from the data file. Try to rewrite her ideas using the method suggested before. Okay, highlight the following. Start, share ideas with tourists. Help us create village webpage. Mrs. Jessica Glasser, together with local people, wrote the stories, get those published. Okay, so those stories. Now think about it. How are you going to rephrase this? Start, share ideas with tourists. Type in the chat box what you think it can be. How can you write it in your own words? Or you can try this one. Help us create a village webpage. How are you going to write it in your own words without changing the meaning? I'll give you 10. I'll stop the video for a bit so you can type. All right, so these are actually the 3 points you have to include in your task 10. These ones, these 3. So have a look. Local people can exchange ideas with tourists. For example, in Sorry, people are now start sharing practical ideas with travelers. We can also help the local people to create a website. For more information about the village can be read on the internet. Traditional stories can be published so other people can learn the tradition of the village. So pay attention to how the keywords are kept, like publish stories. Here we've got exchange ideas. Share ideas becomes exchange ideas. That's good. Sharing practical ideas with travelers, local people. Okay, good. Create a website or start a website. Can be found on the internet. We find information about the village. So this is how you rephrase it. So let's have a look at the marking criteria for part B. In task B, it carries 18 points and it's assessed based on 4 main areas. So listen up, everybody. When I marked task 10, the total score for content was 13 because I gave 1 point for each content mark. So the total score should be more than 18. There are 4 areas that I give you score. First is content, where you find information from the data file and the podcast, your notes. Then the language. Language mark, most of the people get 3. Very seldom do I give people 4 because I need to see your use of vocabulary and spelling problem. Not just spelling. If you don't see me circling any spelling problems or grammatical mistakes, and you still get a 3, it's probably because you are not trying to use words that are more showing me your language level. It's more advanced. You're using simple wordings. And that minor difference really can affect whether you can get a 4 or 3 in language. Organization and coherence. Okay, cohesive ties will be connectives, like in addition to these ones. Nevertheless, these ones, you've learned it since Form 1, but you need to be willing to use them, okay? Relationship between main points and supporting points. For task 10, having all features of the required text. You need to have the title, introduction, body, and conclusion to make it look like it's a complete article. Some people describe Kevin Ho's comments in detail, and it's wrong. It's wrong. So I can't give you full marks. I can't give you 2 marks. Appropriacy. So we got the genre. Okay, the genre. For task 10, use of we to address writer is acceptable. For being impersonal, absence of we. So what does it mean? It's okay to use we, but it's not okay to use I or you. You're trying to be objective here. All right, so now you will try to be like the marker, decide whether the student should get level 3 or 4 or the score for content. This one, okay, have a look. I'll stop the video and let you have a look. All right, everybody, so the title, Positive Effect of Tourism Travel, that's good, very clear, 5 words. But when we look at the first paragraph, we see that recently I heard, so I cross out I cross out all the I because that is subjective. It's not objective enough. 唔夠客觀啊，太主觀啊。Heard that some tourism that's careless grammatical mistake, disappointed about their travel. I know that many of you, so I, you, wrong pronouns, okay, wrong pronouns, and feel sad about the government, and the point of view, it's also wrong. Point of view, wrong point of view. POW, it's supposed to be point of view. Yeah, point of view is wrong. Actually, should be calm and polite, face these problems. Okay, so wrong. The whole thing is wrong. First paragraph, so wrong. Okay, however, it's fair that they can have some money because we go to their countries and they can bring things that they really need to educate their kids. So, they can have money. It's not clear where the money comes from. And they can bring things. So the point, have money and give education is not linked properly. The answer should be tourism can bring money, okay? And the money that they get can help them provide education to their kids. We see keywords like money and educate, spelling problem. So if there's any spelling problem for keywords, that student will not get the content point. It happens to some of you. So please be careful with the spelling. These 2 points are not well linked together, so no marks. Also, government can use the money from us to help people. We should care them more. If we travel to their country, we can earn money to get a job. Okay, we've got 1 point. They can earn money, get a job. Yes, that's 1 point. Furthermore, government can have a chance to do more projects, such as bringing clean water into poor areas, building good roads and hospital. Okay, so bringing clean water to the poor areas. Yes, tick. Okay, however, yeah, building good roads and hospital, yes, a tick. Even though the S is missing, I will still give a point to those students. Lastly, also, local people can learn more things from us tourists, like language. Okay, that's another point. Good job. But we have 2 connectives here, and it's a little bit weird. So you can see these ones shows that the student is not that good at mastering the language. You see careless spelling mistake, missing words, and then the connectives, didn't check the work before he or she submits it. Okay, so broaden horizons, spelled wrongly, and must have so much fun. All right, what do you think the content point is not, I want you to have a look and see if you think the student can get a level 4. Tap in the chat box. Okay, so I've highlighted some of the parts that it's with problem. So it seems like in each paragraph there are problems in terms of grammar. In that case, yeah, you don't, well, you can highlight with me, highlight all the problematic parts. I'll stop the video for you. You can take a photo if you want. Okay, so let's justify the scoring. How many marks will you get award to the student based on the following 4 areas? So content, language, coherence, and appropriacy. So maybe you don't know, you might not be able to give me the score for content, but how about language? Coherence, organization, and appropriacy. Now, I'll be a little bit quick here. For content, this student only get 3 points because quite a few points were not clear. Language, sorry, 1 mark. Coherence, 0. Appropriacy, 0. Well, I think it's a little bit harsh, isn't it? This is so harsh. Language mark, 1 mark, really? Well, that's the marking from that year. This is a level 1 writing. Is it shocking? Does it look like some of your writing? So that's why you need to know. We'll look at the better ones later on and see why those students can get higher marks. Okay, simple sentences only, incomplete sentences, frequent spelling mistake. You see mistakes in every paragraph, ungrammatical sentences, coherence, signpost words but too simple like also. Connectives, they are not helping us to link ideas together. Appropriacy, are the information put there appropriate? Well, should the use of we is unclear. The writer is an editor of the magazine, not from a perspective of the tourist. So if you use we in this task, even though it's objective, but it's not clear, it is the standpoint from Asia Life magazine, unless you mention it at the beginning that we think that Asia Life magazine is against what Kevin Hui thinks, and we have the following points to argue against Kevin Hui's point of view. Then it's clear. The tone is too informal. The editorial is not promoting traveling. Okay, let's have a look at sample 2. Tourism is bringing more goods than bads to the locals. Now, this is fatal. Comparison, you've learned it in Form 1. So by writing this, it tells me that your language is not level 4 at all. Yeah, this is bad. The right way should be bringing more good than harm, or is better or worse. Okay, good, bringing more good than harm. In the first paragraph, although we have point number 1, Kevin Hui thinks that tourism is negatively influencing the local people. That's correct. He gets 1 content point, but it's way too long. Look at this. This is 1, 2, 3 sentences. Your boss asks you to write in less than 2 sentences, 1 or 2 sentences. Too long. Not worth it. You are wasting at least 20 seconds or even maybe 30 seconds on writing this point. So wrong. Not a good way. Then we've got a very good sentence here. However, we do not share the same view as people like Kevin Hui. We believe that there are plenty of positive effects of tourism. Yes, that's a very good transaction from Kevin Hui's negative point of view to what we think, the magazine thinks. And then you will expect to see positive effects examples in the next few paragraphs. However, in the next paragraph, we found that it is back to the negative points, like tourists steal, are easy to get stolen, their things are easy to be stolen, and criminals steal cameras and iPhones. Why are we talking about bad effects again? This is wrong, irrelevant, and that's why for accuracy, the A point, this student will not get full marks at all because this is irrelevant. One of the examples being the money that tourists brought in. Okay, so this is rephrasing the sentence, the idea by the student himself. Money brought in instead of bring money from the data file. So yes, good point, good try in paraphrasing. Can help development of the country as the government will have money to improve the infrastructure. Yes, that's another point. Like building good roads and hospital, that's another point, good. So let me put ticks here. Infrastructure, yes, tick. And then hospital, yes, tick. Bring money, yes, tick. Besides, more job opportunities, another tick. So good. The student managed to get 4 points in a row. Actually, the fifth one will have money to buy things like education. Don't say that they teach their kids by themselves, because the whole point about tourism is bringing good effects on people is the money that they bring, and then the locals can use that money to buy things, right? So these 5 points should be related to the money that the tourists can bring. Okay, everybody, so let's have a look at the next part, talking about education. I really like how the student used present participles to start the sentence. So this is not going to change the meaning. All you have to do is to pick the verb and put it at the front using ing to show the cause and effect. So yeah, the point, this student got point 3A. The reason why you see ABC, free ABC, is because in 2013, the way they mark the writing is not that if you get one idea, you get 1 point. But in each section, they're dividing the task into some sections, and in each sections there are, let's say, 4 points that they have to get, and then they give a score. Maybe if they get all the points, 4 points, all of them, then they get 2 marks only. So that's why it's marked this way. But when you see your writing, you can see it's 1 mark for each point you get correctly. So then we've got this point, share ideas with tourists such as practical ideas. You give yourself a tick. Yeah, and then tourists do help locals to keep culture alive is another point. So tick, very clear. Some tourists will help the locals create a village webpage. Yes, tick, on the internet, so that a lot of information about village will be published online so that the tourists can read. Besides, good to use connectives. Besides, to replace also. Some tourists may write down some of the stories told by the locals and get those stories published. Okay, get the stories published. Tick. Okay, another point. The keyword is published. As a result, people reading the book can learn about their tradition. Tick. So that's related to the stories published. Learn about tradition. That's 1 point. These are positive effects brought by the tourists, and that they keep their culture alive. Yeah, that's the same. Besides, so this is the second time the student is using besides. Try to think of other words like, yeah, moreover would be one of it, or nevertheless, in addition to. Oh, not nevertheless, but in addition to. The locals could learn some things from tourists too. For example, they could learn languages like English from speaking to tourists. That would be the same like share ideas with tourists such as practical ideas. That's how they learn. So it's the same point. You either write learn English or learn practical ideas. Then this is something that a lot of students couldn't get. Tourism help local to maintain their tradition. So the example should be Thai traditional dance was about to disappear, and then it's kept alive, or you can say it's popular again. Do not say that the hotel brings it back. It doesn't mean anything. You need to say this tradition is kept alive or it's made popular again. Telling me that it's seen in the hotel very often, it's not clear. So that's why a lot of students do not get this point, even though you've written down traditional dance was about to disappear. Then at the end, you have a concluding paragraph. The above mentioned are all the positive effects. That is a very successful ending. Now, it seemed like this is better than the first script. So justify your scoring. Can you give a score based on the 4 main areas? I'll stop the video and let you comment on it. All right, let's have a look. And that's why you need to mark the 3 ABCD for me, because then you know how many content points the student gets. This student got all the content points, which is very, very rare and difficult. But can the student get 4 in language? Yes, 4 in language. I don't see a lot of grammatical mistakes. And the student tried to use present participles to start the sentence. And we see the use of connectives, transitional paragraph from Kevin Ho's point of view to my point of our point of view. So I would give a 1 in terms of coherence. Well, this was that year's marking 1. I would probably give that person a 2. Appropriacy, everything was related. To get full marks in content or close to full marks, like 7 or 8 points, it's very likely you are appropriate when you pick the ideas from the data file. So what level is this? It's obviously more than level 3, isn't it? Yeah, type in the chat box, which level do you think the student should get? It is a 4 or 5, boys and girls. Yeah, but you need, of course, it doesn't mean that overall in English you get a level 4 or 5. I'm only showing you this piece of writing deserves a level 4 if this student do tasks 8, 9, and 10 plus the listening part correctly. Then for the listening paper, this student can get a level 4 or 5. All right, comment on script 2. Make sure you jot down the points together with me. Okay, so we know that the language is complex. Complex sentences, connecting paragraphs, yes, good. Precise, concise language. Grammar was accurate. Coherence, signpost words, we saw that, we've highlighted it in a meaningful way. Connecting paragraphs properly. Appropriacy, suitable for an editorial, express editor's opinion. It was quite formal. We do not share the same view as people like Mr. Hui. So that is a little semi-formal because we say we do not share. You do not say, I don't agree. We don't agree. That's very direct. But this is a little bit indirect. We do not share the same. Plus, the word share is super polite. All right, boys and girls, last 3 slides. This is the final script, script 3. Travel with respect helps local community. So the whole thing is positive. However, it's not as direct as script 2. This student tried to use his own language to show that travel helps local community, but with one condition, with respect. Yeah, so we can see that this student knows how to use language. And just by looking at this title, I think the student deserves a level 4 points out of 5 in language already. But let's have a look. Recently, Mr. He expressed his concern regarding the negative impact brought by tourism in some countries. He realized the issue of tribal groups in Amazon rainforest in Brazil being negatively disturbed and influenced, that the government decided to protect the tribe. Oh my God, this is a very long introduction. Well, it shows he is trying to better organize his writing, but it's really not necessary in listening, especially when you don't have enough time. Let's make it precise. Let's make it precise. However, after evaluating both positive and negative impact on tourism on local people, it's crystal clear that tourism do more good than harm to local community. So this is a clear point of view. So take some people say, oh wait, I can't give, you don't see one marked here. It's clear point of view, but it should be Kevin Ho. You should say Kevin Ho, because you're referring to the Kevin Ho's letter. There could be many Mr. Ho's. That's why the student do not get 1 point. And I think quite a few of you wrote so politely. You said Mr. Ho, but in editorial, when you refer to somebody's letter before, you want to be clear which Mr. Ho you're talking about. So it should be Mr. Kevin Ho, or just Kevin Ho. Let's go on. Okay, I like the vocabulary like evaluating, impact, but it should be impact on. So there's one grammatical mistake. Oh, wait, impact of tourism on. So it's actually here. Okay, good. Crystal clear. You can see this student should get level 4, 4 out of 5 in language already. So these phrases, it's enough for me to decide the score in the very first paragraph, unless the student made super careless mistake in the next few paragraphs. Some people say that, okay, good. Locals cannot afford traveling to other countries, and it's not fair to local people to be visited. However, we should acknowledge the fact that, look at this, we should acknowledge the fact that the language can be a 4 or 5. 我哋要意識到人哋同意人哋啊，即係意會到人哋啊嚇。The financial benefits brought by tourism help the economic and social development of the developing countries. Okay, the student used his own wordings to replace bring money. Okay, that's good. Economically, so this is from LS, I think. More job opportunities are created, work with tourists. Socially, the government can use the money to improve infrastructure, provide education and solve local problems. Okay, institutional infrastructure such as hospitals and better roads are constructed. Some places in Africa can have access to clear water because of the money received from tourism. Moreover, tourism helps to maintain local tradition. Many local traditions are kept to attract tourists. For example, you can say, for instance, to show your better language level, in Thailand, traditional dance was disappeared, but was maintained because of the hotel operators thought it was too spectacular. Okay, so this point, we need to see if there's the word popularity or bring alive. Nowadays, there are dance competition and festivals because the rising significance. Okay, rising significance, it's one way to say that it's more popular again. And popularity, okay, yes, popularity, So that's why the student will get a point mentioning popularity. Also, the awareness of local culture and traditions have been raised. Okay, local culture have been raised. That means people learn about the local culture and traditions. Local people share ideas with tourists. Okay, some tourists help local community to create web page. Share stories, information about the world, about local traditions. The above prove that tourism helps to maintain local traditions rather than destroying it. Furthermore, the local community benefits as they learn other language. Okay, that's the same like learn from the tourists, share ideas. So we're not going to tick again. Through cultural exchange and communication, local people learn things from tourists, like language. This can help to improve their competitiveness and broaden their horizon. Okay, so this one, learn language, okay? Learn language from tourists or learn things, okay? Some people think that tourism causes increase of criminal rates. Well, we see something that's irrelevant again. Why are we back to talk about negative points? The aim of this writing is to show the positive effects on the locals by tourism, right? So if you drill into the negative points again, that is 作文 now, okay? Our counter argument. Okay, so in listening, listen up. You do not need to include counter argument, and unless your boss asked you to, Otherwise, just be straightforward, okay? But there is something you can learn from this student. Let us not be blinded by the black sheep. Okay, so this phrase, you can use it in your writing, creative writing, but not in listening. Recognize the benefits brought by tourism. Well, this sentence is good to be a concluding paragraph sentence. So you can see that all in all, the positive good use of all in all, connective, positive effect outweigh means it's more than the negative effects on local community. Good use of vocabulary. Let us work hand in hand, heart to heart. Okay, so this is very encouraging way to end the article. Make the world a better place to live in. So you could tell the student is very clear why, or the aim, the purpose of this article is to convince people, to persuade people to do the same thing, to believe in the same thing. Let's give the student a score in these 4 areas. If you marked the content together with me just now, count how many points the student gets, and it should be 8 points only, 1 point less than the second script. Language, it's very good, so level 5. You can see that if there's 1 or 2 careless mistake, it doesn't matter as long as the student is willing to show his or her language level. And from this one, we can see the student's language is good. It's just careless grammatical mistake for 2 careless grammatical mistakes. But it's not fatal. Coherence and organization, we'll give a 1. I will personally give 2 to this student. I think the student cannot get full marks because the candidates suddenly talk about negative points again. So it's, however, I personally think the student deserves full marks here and full marks here. The points that you see here, the marks written here, was the marks from 2013. The marker gave this point, okay? Level 4 to 5. So what's the comment? We see complex sentences, varied sentence structure, use of vocabulary, rephrasing and paraphrasing, connecting paragraphs between Kevin Hui and editor's view by using transitional paragraphs. The language was very precise and concise. Accurate grammar, just 2 careless mistakes, and we don't really care if your language is good, then we normally will not focus on the careless mistakes. Coherence and organization, signpost words like economically, socially, all in all. Connecting paragraphs between Kevin Hui and editor's point of view. Appropriacy, suitable, everything was suitable for an article, editorial, to express editor's point of view, that's good. The tone, we could tell that it's very strong because the candidate is trying to convince us, the readers, that, yeah, please believe in me. Tourism has positive effect. Let's do it together. So it's very formal. We have the words like crystal clear showing how formal it is.